Exactly.
numbers
It's,
on a screen.
talking to this person, negotiating with this one, and it's a
Yeah.
bunch of people, you're kind of like the conductor in an orchestra, right? You're orchestrating the whole process of that whole project, and you have to put the right people in place in those positions to be able to succeed and be able to be the one of the best at what you do.
Yeah, yeah,
And
definitely. And it's
right.
kind of like what a real estate broker does now is that you're conducting everyone together, whether it's the lender, the inspectors, the appraisers, the insurance company, everything. You just put them all together. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a much smaller scale than building hotels, but it's
Yeah, 100%. So from the brokerage, what made you then say, you know what, let me start buying houses myself as an investor and open up a fund to get investors in to, purchase homes for?
yeah, I realize that real estate brokers are only as good as their last commission check. So I wanted to build something that was passive, and that was through real estate investing. You buy houses, you rent them out for profit, and as you go on, the tenants pay off your mortgage, and the property appreciates. Originally, I had someone that always told me to buy one property a year, and in that first year, I think I bought like 20 properties. But after
Yeah,
I did one, it was the first one was
yeah,
so hard.
of course.
And after I did, it was a small deal, like $90,000. And after I did one, I was like, damn, this is pretty good. After I got a couple people actually paying the rent,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
because
exactly.
it's people's worries, are
Yeah,
they
yeah,
actually
yeah,
gonna pay the rent? And they
exactly.
did without me having to reach out or anything. So I said, shit, this is pretty good. Let's buy
Yeah,
more and make some money every month.
yeah. So I feel like, there was probably a lot of fears that you had in the first property, a lot of insecurities, like you just said. Is this person going to be paying the rent? What happens if he doesn't? What happens if I can't fulfill that payment myself? So and I feel once you put that foot on the door and you see, okay, they're paying the rents, it's not as hard as I thought it was going to be to get somebody in there renting it. It made it a lot easier for the next properties, right?
Yeah, definitely. That first one I bought like on my own with my girlfriend, and then after that we started the fund.
The fund.
And looking back at the fund, it was kind of what I really suggest everyone to do is we kind of just did things and then figured it out later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because
I've done that as well on my
yeah,
side. Yeah, it's kind of the
definitely.
way you have to do it.
And looking back, if I would have known all the obstacles we had to go through to buy all those properties to raise the money from the investors and all that, I probably would have been too scared to do it. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
glad I didn't know.
yeah, yeah. And then the other thing is, like if you try to figure everything out before you go and you take that risk, I feel like you're not exactly like you said, you're not going to take that risk because you're never going to have it all figured out when you're starting off. There's so many new things that are going to pop up that you're going to learn with experience. There's so many things that you could just learn by, just seeing the whole process, how a fund works, the whole process in buying a property, but you're not going to understand the problems that come with it until you have the fund and you start purchasing the properties.
Yeah, a big problem right now with younger people is that they get analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
Like they're
Yeah.
looking at every single variable ever, and sure there are a lot of
Yeah.
variables, but you just gotta first they come and then you gotta figure it out later.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you start trying to prepare for every single variable that could come, I mean, you're
There's
not
so
gonna do
many.
anything.
There's always going to be an extra variable that you have to say, oh, I'm not prepared for this. I'm not prepared. And you're just going to be analysis paralysis. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Most
And if you
definitely.
don't want to risk anything, there's no reward. So
Exactly.
just keep your money in a savings account.
Yeah. That's one thing, that I've noticed is, like to be an entrepreneur, you have to have a very, you have to be open to a lot more risk than a regular person. To be an investor, you shouldn't be getting into that much risk, but for an entrepreneur, you do, right? So when you're an investor, you kind of have to find properties that that the cash flows are going to be secure. For example, at real estate, you have to find properties that that the cash flows are going to be enough and more than enough to be able to pay off the mortgage and all these things. So you're being a lot more risk averse when you're going into the investments. But as an entrepreneur, you're putting a lot more money up front and you have to have a higher tolerance for risk than as an investor. And then, for example, in stocks is the same thing, right? If you're starting a business, you have to be have a very high risk tolerance because there's so many things that can go wrong and most entrepreneurs fail, right?
Yeah.
But as an investor, you have to find businesses that are not risky, that you're going to get secure cash flows, and that's what you're looking for, like when you're looking for stocks or private businesses. So I think there's a difference there that people have to understand.